Welcome to the Cheer Athlete. On this episode, we're going to talk about concussions and um, other ways to prevent injuries and, you know, where do we need to go? And are concussions actually a thing? Welcome to the Cheer Athlete podcast, where we bring coaches, parents, and athletes expert tips and advice to help keep cheerleaders healthy, strong, and at the top of their game. Now let's go. I saw a post that somebody was questioning, are concussions really all that big in cheerleading? And I haven't actually looked up the recent research, so I don't know what's happened in the last 5 years. But when I did my research back in 2016, concussions were on the rise, and over the last 8 years, they had been on the rise. So I don't know if that's just because we're reporting it more or they're actually happening more, but concussions are a thing in cheerleading. When I coached, and yes, you can say I was a bad coach. My very last year of coaching, I was coaching a JV team, and 5 out of 11 girls went out with a concussion through the season. Some of them were mild and they came right back, and some of them were out for the rest of the season. Now, I this is the most injury I've had, the most at one season and one time. Other people had gotten injury. I'm a physical therapist. I'm very, I pay attention to when people are getting injured and I don't like it. It's my goal to not have anybody get injured. We had somebody, and when I was coaching at Holy Cross and my first coaching job at Watertown, people broke their nose. Um, I take ownership for that and for my they were doing things that they weren't ready to do. And I also recognize my JV kids in my last year, I was holding them back and they weren't strong enough. They needed to get stronger. And sometimes they were just not paying attention. And that's the age. And that, again, I take ownership for that because it was my responsibility to protect them. And it's, you as a coach, you kind of you want to push your kids, you want to allow them to progress, and you want them to be doing more and doing all the things that they want to do, but you also need to hold them back when they're not ready to do that. And so it's a fine line. In a all-star, I've never coached all-star, I've never been a part of an all-star program. I understand, the tryouts are maybe a little bit more rigorous, they're played depending on where they're at. When you're coaching high school or youth, and sports teams, you don't have the raw, you only have options for two teams. I never wanted to cut anybody. I got cut my senior year and it was devastating. And I always want to let people come in and cheer. And coaching in college, like to get kids to come on the team, but maybe they weren't ready to do the advanced level stuff. I should have been better at holding them back and making sure that they absolutely were ready. Some of these concussions came down. They had been doing these stunts solid, no falls. One came down at a game. They had done it 1,000 times and they just bumped heads. It happens. We want it to not happen. Research hasn't shown that wearing helmets helps. When they're playing football, a little extra padding can help. But usually concussion happens because things are sloshing around in there. So even just coming down out of a cradle and not bumping heads, if your head's whipping back and then forward, if you're a youth, that in itself could lead to a concussion. And it might actually go unmissed. So in my book, Strength and Conditioning for the Cheer Athlete, which, by the way, I have there's an offer out that comes with bonuses if you order directly from me. So if you're interested in it, send me a message and I'll leave the link below, but we can get you a copy of that and a whole mess of bonuses. I just did videos for injury prevention and have more into that. Didn't really specifically talk about concussions, but other injury prevention techniques. But in this chapter, it's on page 41, talk about, that this could be arguably the number one injury in cheerleading. In 2016, the research didn't show that, but I think they've been on the rise. Concussions are a brain injury that occurs because of a blunt blow or jolt to the head. They can also occur from a fall or a blow to the body that causes the head to move back and forth rapidly. That was from the US Department of Health and Human Services in 2010. Repeated concussions can lead to serious changes in brain function. The difficulty with a concussion is the symptoms may not be obvious. It was once thought that you only had a concussion if you lost consciousness. Today we know that even a mild injury can contribute to bigger issues. Now, this I think is really important for us to pay attention to, because signs of a concussion might be that they're having difficulty focusing in class. It might be that bright lights bother them. Maybe they have upper neck pain that's not going away. They have a headache. Those are all different signs of concussion, and they can last anywhere from 24 hours to months. People can develop signs of POTS, the postural orthostatic, I don't remember the name of, tachycardia syndrome, and pass out. It can lead to a whole lot of problems. And so I do think it's important to pay attention. Now, we don't have to overstress, but we do have to be aware that this does happen in cheerleading, and it can happen even with kids being ready to cheer and ready to progress and do what they're, and to being able to move on, because things randomly come down. It happens. You've hit it 1,000 times at practice, and you get out into competition, and the wind blows just right at Daytona, sun's shining just right, and something comes down, and it leads to an injury. Sometimes they're unavoidable, and sometimes we can do work to prevent these or to reduce the risk by being aware. Are our kids ready to go? Are they rested? Are they paying attention? Making sure they're not goofing around. It's hard for little kids to not goof around. They want to cheer because they want to be with their friends, but they have to do that in a time and place. When you have an injury, you have a concussion early, like before 13, and you have repeated ones over the course of time, it really can lead to serious problems down the road. We need to let our brains heal. We need to take the time out. So if your coaches are holding kids out because they have had a concussion, good for them. They should be cleared by a physician to get back in and compete. There's a protocol to go through and ramping up activity to make sure they're ready, that they can go through a sustained amount of activity without having symptoms, to be able to get back. They need to be able to go to school and concentrate, not have to go take a nap in the nurse's office because they have headaches. If they're doing this, they're not ready to go, and they should sit out. I know nobody wants to hear this, but I think it's really important for the health of your kids and for your teams and for them to move forward. Like, we're in this for the long haul, right? We're in cheer for the long haul, not just for the short term. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you want a copy of the book, the link's below. There's more, strength and conditioning stuff. It's not just about concussions. There is some research, strengthen around the neck to help prevent the whiplash injury from the head. I think staying strong actually will help. The more muscle we have, the better our body responds. And so it is really important to get in and do some strength work outside of practice, and to build and gain some muscle, because that can help also. But it's not an end all be all. Football players are really strong, and they are one of the biggest concussion subjects out there, patients out there. So there's no guarantee, but we can do work to, make sure that they are staying healthy as they're getting back into it. That's the biggest thing that we can do to prevent further injury and a repeat injury, and then making sure that they're ready to go. Let me know if you have any questions. I also am starting a new program, new series, if Ask a PT. So if you have questions specifically that you'd like, that link is in the show notes, and I'm happy to answer any questions. You can ask me to be anonymous. You can ask me to stay anonymous, or I'll answer you directly and answer on here. I'd love to answer your questions as we go forward. So please let me know what you're thinking, and ask away. It's this episode is going to come out on January 7th. I think that's Wednesday of 2026. So I hope you had a very happy New Year and healthy and happy Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate. And I hope you are rolling and ready to go because we are diving headfirst without hitting our head and without whipping our neck into competition season for both high school and all-star. And so go and enjoy the ride. Just enjoy every moment of it. Let's make 2026 the year that we stay healthy and we just have fun in the process. Have a good week and we'll see you next time. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe out. Take life one step at a time. You can do anything you put your mind to. And as my friend Drew Kelleher said, you're responsible for your own vibes. Let's go get the day.